Can Zhen Huan, blessed with both beauty and talent, truly outshine all in the imperial harem and enjoy everlasting favor? Feeling down, my appetite has also decreased significantly, merely feeling listless without any appetite. I embroidered a few stitches on the Spring Mountain painting but soon found it extremely tedious and casually set it aside to lie down on the couch. Hearing the cold rain tapping on the window at midnight, its pitter-pattering was annoying, and I couldn't sleep well. Waking up in the morning, I felt even more upset, as if something was stuck in my chest. Huan Bai, who was assisting me in dressing, was startled and said, "Miss, should we call for the imperial physician? Your complexion doesn't look good." Struggling to get up, I said, "No need, it's probably just the cold from the fluctuating weather these past few days." Calling the imperial physician now would not only delay paying respects to the Empress Dowager, but might also lead to idle gossip about me being pretentious. After paying respects, a hot ginger soup should make things better. Huan Bai looked at me worriedly and said, "Then I will have a few more people accompany the miss outside." Upon heading to the Empress Dowager's palace, to my surprise, Xianling was also there. After paying respects and sitting down, we chatted idly for a while. When everyone had arrived, Xianling pointed at Consort Hua and said, "The epidemic in the palace has been slightly contained, and Consort Hua's contributions are indispensable. From today, Consort Hua will resume her role in assisting with the management of the harem." Hearing this made me feel even worse, tightly grasping the teacup in my hand, reminding myself that I absolutely must not lose my temper. Consort Hua gracefully stood up and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." She looked radiant and was exceptionally graceful, as if she knew that Xianling would restore her position, dressing up extraordinarily elegant and charming. Xianling said, "Consort Hua, you must adhere to the duties of a consort and assist the Empress Dowager well." The words hit me like a stone, almost biting my lip. What I dreaded had finally come to pass. All my previous efforts were in vain. I held back my anger and, along with everyone else, congratulated Consort Hua. The Empress Dowager also smiled faintly and said, "Congratulations to Consort Hua." Consort Hua was very pleased with herself, her demeanor vibrant. However, before the Empress Dowager could finish speaking, Xianling turned to Feng Shui with a smile and said, "Shui has been in the palace for about 5 or 6 years, right?" He paused and continued, "Shui, from the Feng family, is known for her gentle nature and proficient domestic skills. Having served in the palace for a long time with respect and modesty, she is granted the title of Consort Jing, a second-rank consort." Suddenly being made a consort, Feng Shui was stunned for a moment. Xianling said, "What, too happy to even remember to thank for the grace?" Feng Shui then came to her senses and hurriedly knelt to express her gratitude. Xianling added, "The ceremony for the consort's appointment is set for the 26th of this month. Consort Jing, you and Consort Hua entered the palace in the same year and are considered veterans here. You should assist Consort Hua well and manage the harem together, sharing the Empress Dowager's worries." Feng Shui, who had not been favored much before and could not be compared to Consort Hua, was naturally overjoyed by this sudden honor. However, being always reserved, she merely smiled modestly and thanked everyone in turn. This made Consort Hua's face look rather unpleasant. I realized then that, having entered the palace not long ago, I naturally couldn't be made a consort to rival Consort Hua. Xianling, fearing Consort Hua's growing power, thus divided her authority by elevating Feng Shui, balancing the power within the harem. I then smiled warmly and said, "Congratulations to Consort Jing on this great joy." These words were much more sincere than what I had said to Consort Hua earlier. After escorting Xianling out, everyone dispersed. With Consort Hua regaining her position, it was inevitable that everyone had to let her go first. Sitting in the soft palanquin, the eunuchs lifting it moved in unison, as if they were one person. My feelings were mixed. I was happy for Feng Shui becoming Consort Jing, but worried about Consort Hua's return to power, which was formidable. I feared Feng Shui might not be able to withstand it. Feeling such intense turmoil, even the chirping of the orioles on the branches in spring seemed annoying. I then said, "Let's go to Kunju Hall to see Shen Ronghua." Xiao Yunzi was startled and hurriedly bowed, saying, "Forgive this servant's presumption, but Miss Ronghua is not yet fully recovered." It might be better not to visit. Moreover, you haven't been feeling well since this morning. Perhaps it's better to rest first.
He replied, I'm fine.
Besides, what's there to be afraid of? Just burn more mugwort. Aren't the palace servants attending to her? Xiao Yunzi with a forced smile said, That's true, but with the Mrs. Precious health. Seeing my stern face, he dared not continue and turned towards Kunju Hall. Although the imperial edict formally appointing Feng Shui as consort Jing hadn't been officially issued, Xianling's oral decree had already been made. For a time, everyone in the inner palace went to her Yunjiao Hall to offer congratulations, making Kunju Hall, on the other hand, appear even more deserted. When I entered, it was indeed quiet and tidy, restored to its former elegant state. The air of decline swept away. A few young palace maids were brewing medicine on the stove, the thick scent of herbs in the air. They hurriedly stood up to greet me upon my arrival. Inside, I saw Fengrua attending to her, with Balan and Kaiyue seated at a lower position. I smiled and said, I heard His Majesty specially ordered Auntie to attend to Sister May until she recovers. It must have been hard for Auntie. Fengrua smiled and replied, The miss is too kind, I cannot bear such words. Pointing towards the bed, she added, Miss Ronghua is much better today. Your visit is timely. I said, Is that so? Ignoring Xiao Yunzi's frantic eye signals, I sat down by the bed and said, Sister, you're feeling much better today. Mei Zhuang looked much better than before, barely managing a weak smile at me. Wishing to avoid upsetting her, I deliberately omitted mentioning Consort Hua's reinstatement, choosing instead to cheer her up with only the happy news. After listening quietly for a while, I smiled and said, Feng Shui has become Consort Jing, you've recovered and now it's Ronghua's turn. Mei Zhuang's smile showed extreme weariness as she flicked the lace on the pillow, saying, Does it really matter whether it's Ronghua or not? What's the difference from the usual? It's just a title. I'm really tired. Considering her disheartened state due to her illness and the various injustices she suffered during her confinement, I tried to comfort her, saying, You look much better. Why not take a walk outside? The weather is nice and the air is fresh. Mei Zhuang languidly replied, I don't feel like going outside. Seeing people just annoys me. It's nice and quiet here. While we were talking, when Shichu came in to check the pulse and inquire about health. Caught off guard by my presence, he seemed somewhat embarrassed, unsure whether to stay or leave. I smiled and said, Dr. Huan, you weren't like this when you saw me before. I haven't thanked you yet. Sister May's recovery is all thanks to your miraculous healing. When Shichu replied, It's my duty to do my best upon the Mrs. orders. Moreover, I dare not take all the credit. It was thanks to the able colleagues at the Imperial Medical Bureau who found the effective prescriptions that I could play a small part in helping both Mrs. I smiled. Dr. Wen's skill in pulse diagnosis is well known in the Imperial Medical Bureau. There's no need for such modesty. He modestly deflected the compliment with a smile and sat down to check Mei Zhuang's pulse. Mei Zhuang's nails were kept about 3 inches long, still showing faint traces of Jin Feng flower dye. Fengrua covered Mei Zhuang's wrist with a silk handkerchief. As soon as Wen Shichu's hand touched her, Mei Zhuang's face turned slightly red, contrasting with her slightly pale face and the pink bed curtains, resembling the unusual flush of someone in a faint. Mei Zhuang raised her other hand to smooth her hair, saying, You came in without announcing yourself first. It's really impolite of me to be seen in such a disheveled state. Even when Shichu found it hard to raise his head after that, coughing lightly to cover his embarrassment. The miss is a patient after all, not minding such things. Besides, His Majesty has ordered me to come in for checkups anytime. He still felt uneasy. It was my oversight. Seeing him like this, Mei Zhuang said, Let it be. Having been so ill these past days, you've seen me at my worst. I covered my mouth and laughed. Even when ill, sister is still a beauty. She sure had a heart condition. Yet Dong Shi still eagerly imitated her frown. It shows that a beauty remains so sick or not. Mei Zhuang laughed so hard she gasped for breath, and when Shichu's face turned red, I quickly said with a smile, My sister Ronghua has always been dignified and proper, caring a lot about her appearance. Normally, when a doctor checks the pulse, we should be behind the curtain. But firstly, diagnosing the illness requires observing and asking in addition to pulse checking, And secondly, the doctor has been taking care of my sister these days and is familiar with her. Let's not bother with formalities. When Shirchu inquired about her diet and the temperature of her food, eating just plain porridge and simple dishes is light and easy on the stomach, but ultimately lacks nourishment. Moreover, your digestion is not very strong, and it needs proper care. Mei Zhuang said, greasy food just doesn't go down well. I have no appetite. When Shirchu gently advised, medicine tends to be hard on the stomach, but if the appetite is poor, the medicine's effect is also diminished. He thought for a moment and said, I will prescribe a few medicinal diets for the Mississippi. Looking at me, he added, the noble lady's spirit also seems under par. How about consuming black chicken boiled with ginseng? It's excellent for nourishing yin and beautifying the skin, and it also replenishes blood and qi. Mei Zhuang's tired expression showed a faint smile. Such a petty approach, just use a ginseng root. It's not like we can't afford it. Why fuss over those ginseng whiskers? When Shirchu explained with a smile, Miss Ronghua might not know, but the noble lady has always had a deficiency in blood, and ginseng mainly treats qi deficiency. The two are different. Especially now in spring, not to mention a whole ginseng root would spoil the taste of the black chicken. The noble lady's body might not handle it well. But qi governs blood and blood nourishes qi. They are inseparable, so using ginseng whiskers can actually be more regulating. Mei Zhuang said, you make a good point. Now take a look at me, what should I be eating? When Shirchu replied, goji berries, koik seed, and Chinese yam can strengthen the spleen and augment qi. Porridge made from glutinous rice and rosebuds can relieve liver qi stagnation and stomach pain, which would be very suitable for the Mississippi. I said, thank you for your concern. Mei Zhuang glanced at me with a twist, coughed twice, and then smiled faintly. You always make people willing to take care of you, don't you? Dr. Huan, isn't that right? When Shirchu simply said, it's just part of my duties. Saying this, he excused himself and walked out. Just before leaving, he reached out to close the half-open window and said to Kaiyue, the wind is still chilly these days. Don't keep it open early in the morning or late at night. Your mist can't withstand it. It's fine to open it at noon to air out. Kaiyue smiled. You are even more meticulous than us. Now that you've been specially appointed by His Majesty to treat our miss, it has been quite a relief from the turmoil of the past few days. When Shirchu also smiled, turning back to say, the noble lady has repeatedly instructed to take good care of her. How could I not do my utmost? Hearing their conversation, I turned back to see Mei Zhuang staring blankly at the pillow, silent. Thinking she might be tired from talking so much, I reached out to tuck her in, suggesting she rest. Mei Zhuang looked at me and said, your complexion doesn't look good. What's wrong? I hurriedly covered up. Nothing, just didn't sleep well last night. Mei Zhuang, leaning to the side, said, there are many reasons for not sleeping well. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. Although I'm sitting in this well, I'm not entirely unaware of the weather outside. That person must be enjoying quite a bit of glory these days. But you should still take care of yourself. She paused for a moment. I heard Lingrong is also not doing well. Not wanting her to worry further, I said, it's just a cold, nothing serious. Mei Zhuang said, though the epidemic isn't as severe now, a cold should not be taken lightly. Her fortune comes from her singing. Damage to her throat would be unfortunate. I said, I've reminded her to be careful. But despite sending many medicines, there hasn't been much improvement, probably due to her generally weak constitution. Seeing her look somewhat fatigued, I didn't want to overstay, so I prepared to leave. Mei Zhuang said, you can go. There's no need to come often if there's nothing important. It's not good to pass on the sickness of a patient. I also prefer not to see people. It always troubles my mind. I thought about it and smiled. All right, take good care of yourself. Next time, it'll be you visiting me instead of me visiting you. As I walked out to the outer courtyard, I saw Wen Shirchu instructing a palace maid in preparing medicines. Seeing me come out, he hurriedly bowed. I gave him a meaningful look and slowly walked out with the support of the railings. Sure enough, he hurried out after me. I smiled and said, it wasn't convenient to talk earlier. Thank you for your trouble. Gradually, I became more serious and said, Zhang Muyang and Zhang Mui specialize in gynecology. How come they suddenly became experts in treating the epidemic and so proficiently at that? It's puzzling. They even said that Consort Hua helped translate medical texts overnight. Consort Hua might be knowledgeable in laws and literature, but as for medicine, it would probably give her a headache. When Shichu pondered for a moment before slowly saying, "If I were to say that the majority of the prescription for treating the epidemic came from my own hand, would you believe me?" I replied, "I believe you. You are capable of it. But how did the prescription end up in their hands?" He explained, "I only wrote most of it, and because I hadn't finalized it, I didn't dare to use it rashly. It was kept in a drawer at the Imperial Medical Bureau, and while I was busy taking care of Shenronghua, they might have seen it and taken it as their own. They probably added some herbs to it, but since they aren't experts, the prescription might have been made too strong. That's why the prescription I used for Shenronghua was more about gentle nourishment." I nodded. "You've done nothing wrong. At this time, with them being credited for the major achievement, even if you spoke out, no one would believe you. They might even accuse you of trying to claim undue credit. Don't worry, I'll handle this matter." I smiled slightly. "Since most of the prescription came from you, it'll be easier to deal with. When the birds are gone, the bow is put away. I'm afraid your good days are coming soon."
Follow us to avoid getting lost and enjoy endless exciting stories. For more content, please go to the Story Wall homepage to view more exciting novels.